The Pins want no part of you.
Mark Schlereth, 3 Super Bowl rings, a multiple-time Pro Bowler. It's funny about Josh Rosen. You did multiple Arizona Cardinal games this year.
Yes, I did.
And it's very easy to look at his numbers and go, he's a bum. But I actually watched them because I know the guys that run the organization, and I know Josh's family, and I thought, I'm going to watch Josh.
Sure.
What is your interpretation of his rookie year and now going to Miami?
I don't care. Like, you could put Iron Man behind the offensive line that he played behind, and you're going to struggle.
Yeah.
Like, I looked at the Arizona Cardinals just from a pure talent standpoint. O-line was horrendous. But beyond that, I mean, David Johnson, literally, and if he was sitting right here, he'd agree with me. He looked like he forgot how to play football.
Right.
Like, there were so many busts, so many mistakes.
Yes, there was.
Across the board.
Yeah.
There was the volume of offense they tried to install under Mike McCoy, for whatever reason, it was too much. They couldn't grasp it. They were awful up front. They were awful in the running back department. Larry Fitzgerald, God bless him, because he's one of the great players that's ever played this game. He is truly a pro's pro. But when he's your most dynamic athlete at the receiver position in year 14 or 15 or whatever it was, like, you've got problems. And that was across the board with the Arizona Cardinals. So I don't care who was playing quarterback for the Arizona. That guy wasn't going to have success. And then he took a beating. I saw, and this will be something that bothers people. I saw an Atlanta game as I was preparing to call the Falcons game where he got sacked 6 times. He must have got hit 15 times. And it was late in the fourth quarter, and you could just see, like,
he was tired of it.
He was like, I'm gonna get killed out here. Like, I'm done.
Yeah.
So there was that part of it. And obviously, as a football player, that bothers you, but you understand that was a bad football team.
Yeah. I want to go to the Denver Broncos, who drafted Drew Lock. Now, I'm not a huge Flacco fan, but I do think he fits the profile of what John likes, big, strong kid. Denver gets cold November, December, January. The history of the franchise is you got to be able to throw the ball through a little bit of wind in Denver. And Flacco, I think, can do that. Then they went and got Drew Lock. Does that mean you live in Denver, you know Elway, you know what the Broncos do. What does that tell me? What's the message there?
I think there's a security blanket there. You're not forced to play Drew Lock.
Right.
He's a guy that they liked from the evaluation standpoint, that they thought he was the best quarterback available.
All right.
That fits their profile, because John Elway does not want to go to 5'10". Like, that to me is just like, that would be like pulling teeth.
Right.
That's not who he is. So he fit the profile, and he thought he was the best athlete, the best quarterback, had this best skill set.
Yeah, but by the way, a lot of people, all scouts said he was the best raw talent. He and Kyler Murray were the best raw talent in the draft.
Right. I think it's really interesting because, we all want to slap a grade on the draft, right? And we'll never know until 2-3 years down the road when we see these guys and how they develop and essentially how they adhere and how they play in the National Football League, because we've seen a lot of great college football players that get into the league and they're overwhelmed by the league, and then we've seen guys that are free agents that come in and thrive in the league. So it's that's a tricky thing, but they moved back 10 spots. They moved from 10 to 20. They got Noah Fant, who's a legit first-rounder. Dalton Reisner is a kid that on every mock draft, he was drafted somewhere between 20 and 32.
Yeah.
So he's like a legit first-round talent.
And then they went out and got a franchise quarterback.
And they got a franchise quarterback who was in the first round in just about everybody's mock draft. So you essentially traded back 10 spots and picked up 2 extra first-rounders. Obviously they were drafted in the second, but I think you have to look at that and say, hey, if Flacco is truly in the prime of his career, like John Elway has said multiple times, great. We've got a backup for the next 3-4 years. And if he's not,
by the way,
great.
The way his contract works, you pay him for 2 years, he's gone, the next kid's in.
He's got 1 year of guaranteed money, then 2 years left after that aren't guaranteed, so you can cut him for nothing.
Okay, didn't know that. So he's only got 1 big year of money.
He's got 1 year of guaranteed money on his deal.
Oh, I thought it was 2, so that's good. It was interesting over the weekend. Dave Gettleman, I think we've all met this guy.
Sure.
Big story guy, but doesn't really know anything. He's fooling you. And those guys are always exposed. Dave Gettleman last week acknowledged he didn't know what conference Ohio State played in. It's been 103 years, Big Ten. But then he wants me to believe they took Daniel Jones at 6 because he knew what Denver and Washington wanted to pick, which both have said they got the guy they wanted. So I think we have a vice president who is now the president. This happens all the time in politics. Joe Biden doesn't feel as presidential, but I thought he was a good 2, right? Like Dave Gettleman, I think there's just a lot of BS happening, and I think he's getting caught on camera. Am I wrong?
No, and like Dave Gettleman was a scout in Denver when I played there.
Okay.
So like Dave Gettleman is a guy that will he is a build your team from the inside out guy.
Yeah.
Here was my biggest issue with Dave. Like if you love the guy, great. Do you want to marry the guy or do you just want to date the guy for a while, right? Because you took him at 6 and then the whole excuse for taking him at 6, like you're essentially acquiescing to the media going, well, there's a reason because we didn't think you'd be available at 15 because we had good intel that 2 other teams liked him at 15. I love the guy. I took my guy at 6. He's going to be my future franchise after Eli.
And stop talking. Yeah, stop
talking.
Yes.
Right? Like you don't have to explain yourself. This was the guy that I evaluated that I think has the most upside potential and the highest ceiling in this draft. And he was tutored by Cutcliffe, who was the guy who tutored, Peyton Manning and Eli. This is my guy.
And for the record,
end of story.
So often in this sport, I've seen this with Gruden, just stop talking at the podium. Like I talk for a living. I make mistakes. I get it. But if I ran Fox, you would rarely see me talk. And if I did, I would be succinct.
Right.
Gettleman's a rambler.
Right.
And you're like, Dave, just say. I would have walked up and said, I got to be honest with you. He's the closest thing to Eli Manning I've seen in this draft in a decade. And everybody would be like, we got 2 Super Bowls with Eli. I'm good with that.
Right.
Because everybody would know you don't mean Eli now. You mean Eli when he came in.
When he came in.
Just
right.
Because I think you can make that argument. I had a scout tell me about a month ago, they said, he said he thought they would get the Daniel Jones at 17, and he goes, you can sell him as the next Eli. Gettleman never sold him the whole weekend as the next Eli. That's all you had to do. Instead of just rambling and Ohio State plays in the Big 12. God.
Just making stuff up and then, I got good intel. And, part of the whole draft process is the subterfuge, right? You're lying to everybody. So I just if you like a guy, you evaluate a guy and you think that guy is a generational player, then own it. This is my guy. It's my guy, and guess what? I get to make the decisions.
Yeah. Mark Schlereth. Great seeing you, buddy.
Yeah, likewise, bud.
Enjoy with the news.
No.